Chapter 11. Where are my parents? Dead silence in the neighborhood as I gaze out the window into the February snow. Cold wind could almost be felt as I watched the snow blow towards the trees, making funnels of clouds. "I've not seen anyone in months," Tom says. "Food's running out, Jill," Steph states. "There are no people out there." "Maybe we should run over to one of the neighbors and steal their food," I insert. "Stealing is not stealing if your life depends on it," Tom adds. "Let's get dressed and put on our winter gear," Steph includes. We walk out into the cold, snowy steps of my house, bundled up in our winter gear, ski pants, gloves, hats, scarves. All five of us decide to go together, hoping we would not lose any by the end of the day. First house is just 2 houses down from our street. "Jill, the neighbors are probably watching us," Tom states. "If they're not, they will definitely see our footprints later," Frog adds. "This is all too strange to consider. Why do I not know where Mom and Dad are?" I respond. I peek into the first window. Lights are on, dinner's ready. Tom shoves his head next to mine. "That sure is strange, Jill. What do you think we should do? Like, break in and take the food?" Steph asks. "Exactly," Tom says, pressing his hand against the window opening up. "I'll go in first to investigate," Tom says. "Y'all wait here. I'm gonna throw the food out and you four put it in the packs," Tom says. "Okay," I answer, watching Tom squeeze all the way through the window. Within seconds, Tom peeks his head back out the window he went through. "Strange in here. It looks and feels like people in here, but the truth is, there's no people," Tom says, placing some pasta in my hands. "Plus, it smells like the oven has been on." I put my hands on the food and it feels like it just came out of the oven, Tom says before disappearing into the bedroom. Tom showed us at the window some candy, muffins, and soda before we left to investigate the rest of the houses. "Let's go to the blue one," Tom says, running across the street to one of the blue houses. We follow. "Just knock on the door, Tom. If no one answers, we'll break the door down," Steph says. No answer. "Kick the door, Tom," I say. Tom begins to kick the door down. Crack, pop. The door pops open. An unexpected fresh food was prepared on the kitchen table as we stormed the house. Frog and Sally rush toward the food. They begin to eat. Cookies, ham, pizza, and cake. Frog and Sally begin to stuff their mouths with the goodness on the preset tables. As they were eating, I looked around the house we were in. It is all so strange. The entire street seemed to be so desolate, as if we were the last survivors of some mega disaster, yet all the homes were presented if they were inhabited. Such a strange nuclear environment, if such a thing existed. "This almost looks like a town covered in radiation," I say. Tom nods his head up and down in agreement. Steph says, "I think I know what you're talking about. I saw something like this on television not too long ago." "That city?" I asked. "Yeah, the one with the nuclear power plant explosion. Its appearance on television looked the same way it appears on the street." "Maybe it has something to do with 4G cell phone towers," Tom says. "I miss Mom," Sally says. "I'll find her." I looked toward the horizon at the end of the street. A patch of pine trees stood at the distant end on the street. The sky radiated bright pink just above the pine trees. The soundless wind said the world had come to an end. No cars driving by. No sound of the neighbors, only a sound of radiation from a strange moment in time. "We should go home," I say. We walk our stolen food back to my house, not saying a word to one another as we struggle through the snow to get home. I toss my knapsack down in the kitchen and grab a cloth and begin to wash the food, hoping no radiation or sickness would come inside of our clean house. The rest did the same thing. We placed all the items on the kitchen floor. There was not enough space on the counter. Dad should feed us for about a month, Tom says. This does not feel right without Mom or Dad here, I say. We'll be fine. We'll find them, Jill, Steph says. I cannot believe the world is ending, Tom says. The world is not ending, I bark. Okay, Jill, Tom says. Begin to what happened to my parents. What happened to Tom's parents? This is not okay. I only recall several years of living, and this is something I would not have expected. Months went by, and we see no one. The initial excitement of my parents' disappearance left weeks ago. The television stations went black, and the power was shut off to our house. I do not talk much. I have nothing to talk about except trauma. I sit in my room next to the window. The little light the day offered would soon end. I gaze at the replaced window that appeared to be me, to be replaced by my father against me, that not too long ago I threw my computer monitor through, hating my father. Still the rage inside could almost be felt, but I was too comfy to check to see if it was still there. Where could my parents be? I hated them in ways. Well, I thought I hated them. Why were my parents living on Holden Street to begin with? Why am I here? I begin to recall my younger years. I remember when my dad brought me to my first day of school. I loved that day and the entire year. The second and third at the school were great as well. I remember a young boy in 4th grade giving me a hard time. I told my dad about it. My dad thought, bring me to school and bring me before the young boy, expressing to me that the young boy was a good boy, which gave him a seat, not only at school but in my family as well, and left me with no seat in the least. I put my head down. I recall how upset I was when all the children abandoned me for the attention of the young boy that was giving me the hard time. I hated my dad for that. Later in the school year, the boy came up to me and seemed as if he were welcoming me into his world, which before was my world. I hated my dad for that. Hated my dad for that. My dad is rich. We were supposed to be better than everyone, but I guess not. I put my head down and began to whimper. Suddenly, my tears turned to laughter. I know what I will do. I will do the same thing to him. Dad, you can come out now. The pandemic was not a bad thing. This house is not a bad house. Steph walks into the room. Jill, who you talking to? My dad. I'm welcoming him into the paper corporation, I say, giggling. Steph follows me down the street and out onto the backyard of the mansion. We walk over to the secret door, the door locked, located at the back of the house. Good, it's unlocked, I say, walking inside. The room looks about the same as it did the first time we were in here, although some of the paperwork and pictures were moved. Plus, a fresh cup of coffee was placed on the piano. First, I must make sure my parents are not in the house. Mom, Dad, I say in the partially lit room. Glance over at the picture on the piano. I look at the arrangement. Steph, look. These appear arranged as if they're trying to say something. Steph says, those look like pictures of you. This looks like you, I say, pointing at the picture. Whoever put the pictures here must have wanted those who saw it to celebrate the paper coup. I picked up the photo of a young girl in front of the sign that read paper coup. The next picture was of a young girl lovingly hugging her parents. I picked up the news article next to the picture. It read, Ruggs family buys their daughter a small business. Paper coup. They bought paper coup for Miss Rugg, I say. She looked so happy in the pictures. I begin to long for such love and happiness. I wish I were close to my parents. Steph looks over at me. Jill, Steph says, what happened with you and your parents? What do you mean? From time to time you will accidentally mention you do not like them, or you will say you hate them, Steph says. I never thought of it as a severe thing, Jill begins explaining, but sometimes I wish they were a little more on my side. That they protect me, I say. They seem to doubt that, Steph says. Yes, they do, but I'm sure if a better person was over here, they would rather be family with that person. It's definitely not like these pictures, a strong chain of love. It's rather like a few weak links. You remember when you first moved over here, and we were in the closet and we began talking about possible past lives, Steph inquires. What if these pictures are your past lives, Steph conveys. And look here, Steph says, pointing to a photo. What if I lived in that rock? See that rock with the two girls standing by it? Yes, I answer. That was me and you in the past. You always said you were my mother, Steph says. Put my head down, I begin recalling small amounts of information. If this is my past life, it sure looks like a dream life. That nothing can be better than this. An entire business for me. And I sit feeling as if I'm unloved. What if my dad bought me an entire business? Once the invitation was given, I lost the known reality and while chuckling said, well, I'm your mother and you hated me constantly hanging out in your room, so my dad built you a hidden room in a rock. Yes, exactly, Steph says, excitedly. Your dad lives in this room, his dad lives in the attic, and his dad lives in the woods. He was always your favorite because he does not regard gravity reality when he's with us and listens to whatever Steph says. I laugh and smile, recalling the time in the woods. That store was awesome. Grandpa must have helped us build it. I snap back into reality, hoping I will not be suddenly hurt by an unexpected moment. Let us go back inside. We don't want to bother Grandpa's music studies. Bye, Grandpa, I say, walking out into the backyard lawn. We shut the door behind us. Trust me, you love your home. You have always loved your home, Steph declares.